I'm silencing my phone. Good morning, everyone. This is BizChicks TV. This is the place where you can find tips and tools to help you do business better. We're here to help you run a profitable business that's fun to run and to take the hassle out of your hustle. So today it's all about health and wellness. Did I get that?
Wealthness.
Wealthness. Wellness. Okay.
We making up words.
No. So I'm joined today by my co-host, Miss Francine Gregory, and by our beautiful co-host, Miss Robin Shimizu, and I am Terry Osmond. We're the BizChicks, so welcome. Sit back. We're about to discuss our health and to get better at taking care of ourselves, which is all about how to get wealthier. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to pay somebody, the doctor, a lawyer, or somebody. So come on in, get some tips. Get a pencil and paper, sit back and relax. We're going to talk about the S word. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so this is good. It's not X-rated, is it, ladies? Okay, we're just talking about the S word. It's a family thing. It's okay. Relax. Okay, no, to take the children out the room. So let's get started. How's everybody today?
Very good. I am well. I am well. So
me too. Good, Robin. Thank you, ladies. So, Robin,
today we're going to talk about the S word, as Terry and Francine has stated earlier, sugar, and why sugar is something that we need to get out of our diets. It's not a good thing to have in our diets, and it's very well hidden in our diets. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're also going to talk a little bit about the role of the sugar industry in terms of manipulating and their role in how they shifted the emphasis on sugar, off of sugar onto fat for the last 50 years.
Interesting.
They purposefully did that. So anyway, let's just start out by talking about what are the toxic effects of sugar. Just to remind people know this, but I'm just going to go through them quickly as a reminder.
You know what, Robin? I don't know if a lot of people even know. Seriously, I know we know, but everybody really doesn't know.
Terry?
So go slowly. Okay.
Terry?
So you guys know that I used to work with the Department of Public Health, and I oversaw prevention programs. And one of the things that we saw was a trend upward in terms of obesity. And our children are actually going to be heavier than we are as they grow older because of the hidden sugars in their diet and because of the way that they have to eat growing up, because it's so hard to get sugar out of their diet. So obesity actually is on the rise, and everybody's starting to be more aware of it. Mothers are being more aware of it, feeding their children more healthily, that kind of stuff. But this is the first generation where those children will be heavier than their parents and will be unhealthier than their parents. So it was a very scary trend for us to watch. And the increase in type 2 diabetes is one of the results of how much sugar people are eating. My husband was diagnosed as pre-diabetic, and 2 weeks ago they put him on medication because he's unable to control his sugar and his exercise to control the type 2 diabetes. So that's a very real thing that's affecting so many of us. And type 2 diabetes is very, very serious, and it's on a rise. So sugar raises the risk of type 2 diabetes. We're going to go through, I do have something here about how to, some of the symptoms around diabetes. Do you want me to do that now?
Yeah, why not? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, okay. So here are the common symptoms of diabetes, and I just want people to know so that they can kind of assess their own health needs. If you're urinating often, if you often feel thirsty, if you're feeling very hungry, even though you're eating, so just famished, extreme fatigue, blurry vision, cuts and bruises and things like that are slow to heal. Even weight loss. My husband he is super thin right now. He's probably not even 150 pounds. And he's lost over the course of this last year about 20 pounds due to his diabetes. So weight loss is another symptom, and tingling pain and numbness in your hands and your feet because it so negatively affects your nerves. So those are some symptoms around diabetes, and I just kind of wanted to say that so that
Robin, I had no idea that diabetes could cause weight loss.
Well, okay, so I think it's
that's why I'm glad you went over the symptoms, because I wouldn't have had that on my list. I'd have been excited that I was
If it's unexplained weight loss, you should always look into it because you never know what is causing that. If you're not purposefully cutting back on your calories and exercising and things like that, if there's unexplained any kind of weight loss, it could be a negative health effect that's going on with you.
Okay.
And certainly a lot of type 2 diabetes are with people that are overweight because they're eating, bad foods and things like that. Yeah. Okay, so sugar can also make you depressed. And it increases your fat storage. So sugar actually does convert into fat. And there were a lot of years that people didn't think that could happen. But if you eat too much sugar, you are going to create fat cells. And those fat cells are really bad because those cells that hang on to toxic kinds of things in your system. So sugar does increase fat storage. Sugar causes wrinkles.
Okay.
Sugar raises the cholesterol in your system. And it can raise the risk of heart disease. So it is tied to heart disease, which is what the sugar industry was really trying hard to get people attention away from sugar and onto fat causing heart disease. But sugar really is a risk factor for heart disease, overeating. Sugar can make you overeat. And what it does, it can also and he said nothing tastes good to him right now except something sweet. Everything else kind of turns his stomach, and he's really having a hard time. So consequently, we're going to the doctor real soon because I got to get this under control. He's getting just way too thin. But yeah, so sugar is very addictive, and I think my husband is a really good example of it because he doesn't want to do anything else but eat sugar. And he is on diabetes medicine.
And that's not going to work.
So what I see, people don't realize that sugar really is addictive.
I had no idea.
It is addictive. When it causes you to crave more and more sugar. The more you eat, the more, and so you have to get someplace to stop it, to minimize it, so that you got to interrupt. You have to interrupt the pattern, and it's not an easy thing to got to get away. So hopefully we can start talking about it somewhere in here, you know, what the solutions are. And
yes, I had no idea that it was addictive and that you could actually go through what appears to be a withdrawal process.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that in particular, but I can tell you that the average person consumes 150 pounds of sugar a year. Can you visualize that? And that's equivalent to 1 teaspoon of sugar per hour, 24/7.
Wow, so that's 24 teaspoons a day, right? Every day.
Every day.
150 pounds of sugar. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
And that's now that's not, and actually it could be more than that because there's like 16 teaspoons in a soda.
That's right. So what's happening is people, even though they're pretty cognizant of not eating like candy or something that's really sugar, it's hidden. So when you read the labels, it's labeled as, I'll read them to you: dextrose, glucose, fructose, lactose, corn syrup, maple sugar, honey, invert sugar, and malt. Those are all hidden sugars on a label. So you may not see sugar per se,
yes,
but it's all hidden, and that's how come we unwittingly eat so much sugar, because it's hidden in our foods, breads, and pretty much anything that we have. If you look at the label, if it's not whole foods, it's going to have sugar in it. So that's why it's so important. Then the industry was really active in the 2000s when we were trying to go over making labeling so important on foods, because the government plays a big part in a lot of that. They're the ones that kind of drive public policy.
Mm-hmm.
And the industry really fought tooth and nail not to allow good labeling on food products.
I remember that, yes.
Mm-hmm. So they
just wanted to add calories. Remember what a fight that was to menus and different things? And oh my goodness, they weren't having it.
And when to put ingredients on the back of things so people can read them, so they know what was actually in them. Yeah, I remember there was a big fight, like, for the GMO versus non-GMO or whatever. But I took a class on nutrition one time, and if correct me if I'm wrong, but the first ingredient is the most of it. So if it's water first, then it'll be water plus the other stuff. Most stuff, it could be water, then sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. When they do juices, if it does not say 100% juice, it'll say juice drink. That's the indication that sugar has been added. The juice is already, the fruit is already there, but they've added sugar to it and made it, if it doesn't say 100% juice, now you have a juice drink. And if you look at the second ingredient, the first ingredient will probably be water. The second ingredient is going to be sugar. And then the third ingredient is the flavoring. So it's not real.
And it doesn't say sugar. It'll say fructose or, right. It'll say something else where, people that are just reading the label looking for sugar, they're not going to realize that is the sugar in that product. So it's, it's been disguised. And so one of the things they were saying in terms of, you want to consume fruit, so consume the fruit, don't drink the juice.
Very good. And I just learned that because if you drink, when you go and you order orange juice at the restaurant and you're getting a big glass like this, 12 ounces or whatever, that's going straight to your bloodstream.
That's right.
It is pure sugar going straight to the blood. It tastes good, but it's way too much sugar. And if you're going to get a glass of orange juice, when you get fresh squeezed orange juice, one orange only has about this much juice, not this much.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's true. So I always, when I was raising my son and things like that, juice used to actually give him diarrhea. So I always just gave him milk. I'm sorry, not milk, water. He really drank a lot of water, and I never gave him soda. So my philosophy was, I'd rather eat my calories than drink my calories.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Because I got more pleasure having, a little tiny piece of something rather than drinking a glass of juice or whatever. And I always diluted his juice or my juice or whatever with water, so that it was really mostly water.
Yes.
Yeah. So
so important.
Now, Robin, I remember juice glasses used to be tiny.
That's right.
When I was coming up, they were tiny. The juice glass was smaller than the other. It wasn't the size of the water glass frame. And now it's like, just put a glass on the table. Yeah.
And they bring you a big glass of orange juice.
The thing is that we don't, as consumers, we just go about our daily lives. We don't really realize the role that government and industry plays in what we see, in the grocery stores and things like that. And I just wanted to tell you guys about, because this was really fascinating. There was I don't know, you guys read Mother Jones?
Mm-mm.
It's a fabulous publication, and they do a lot of exposés, and they're I'll just show you guys the article that I downloaded. It's Mother Jones, Big Sugar's Sweet Little Lies. And it goes on and on and on, because they're just fabulous and super, super smart. But anyway, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but it's something that people should download if they can and just take a look at it, because it's going to make them mad against the sugar industry. The sugar industry has manipulated public policy on sugar education and things like that since the 1940s. Oh. And starting in the 1960s, they actually paid Harvard scientists to research the effects of trans fats and its effect on heart disease, to steer this research and steer the science away from sugar, because they knew sugar was bad. They knew it was addictive. And they just wanted to make sure that the general public didn't know that, and that the blame was put on fat. So do you remember, right? Back in the 70s, everything was low fat.
Yes.
And which is not good for you.
We went to margarine and everything else, yeah.
And which low fat was never good for you.
It wasn't, but we all thought we were doing good by going low fat, right?
Because somebody started spreading the rumor and spreading the little innuendos that, but all the time it was what is that called, the shell game?
Mm-hmm.
Sugar was the culprit.
That's right.
Wow.
And they added sugar to low fat foods
because it didn't have any taste. And the other thing was because we're so addicted to the sweetness that we really don't know how food really tastes anymore. Once we take all of the sauces and the different things off of it, you have to retrain your palate. And I can remember my grandmother had diabetes in the 50s. And she changed her diet for about 3 years to nothing but strained fruit, carrots, and beet juice.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really radical. And that was all she would intake until because she'd make it herself. She had applesauce, I think. I remember that. But it didn't have any sugar in it. And she didn't have diabetes after a couple of years. She just changed her diet completely, which was interesting to me because all of her sisters went on to suffer with diabetes because they'd all inherited the same cook.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. You had an extraordinary grandma.
I did.
Who had to have the wherewithal to change her diet like that. Back in the 50s, people didn't know how to deal with it. And diabetes wasn't as bad in the 50s as it is now. It wasn't as prevalent.
I think it's because there's so much refined sugar now. It's so readily available and so cheap.
Right. And that's why communities of color and people that don't have a lot of money, unfortunately, the foods that they can afford are the foods that are so super bad for you. High in sugar, high in carbs, low in protein. Those are the kinds of foods that they can afford. And it's just, so government really tries really hard to educate people about that and how to eat healthily, more, cheaply and stuff. But it's just the way that things have got to change, and they are changing, and it's changing slowly. And education is getting better about it. However, it's only so much you can do if you only have so much money.
Yes, and we're working on food deserts, to put grocery stores within walking distance of people again, so they can eat healthier, or farmers markets, or different ways. I know in California, we really are making a concerted effort to connect people with real food.
Yeah, California has always been on the forefront of a lot of the prevention that needs to be done. And the obesity prevention program has done a great job of educating kids on the community gardens and, how to eat more healthily and things like that. It's just, it's a model actually that's being exported to the other states.
So now we understand and we know that sugar is a problem, and there are people that are going to like, well, what am I going to eat, and how am I going to change this? And there are things that people can do, and there are alternatives for your little sweet tooth. When we do the Daniel fast, or we do the fasting that we do once a year, and you get rid of sugar for that month or what have you, you broke the cycle, right? So sugar is no longer going, we demand you to eat this. So when you break that cycle, it's best not to try and go back to it and then change up to something else. I got rid of the breads because bread turns to sugar in the body. So I was like, okay, I can't do that. And yesterday we got something to eat at Starbucks, which is, you look at the stuff, there's pastries and there's all kind of stuff. Well, I got the little protein pack, and it had, I guess it was a half an apple or small apple, and it had carrots in it, and turkey with a little bit of bread on it.
Eat a bread, yeah.
But those carrots were so good. I was like, wait, I don't remember the carrots tasting this good. And the apple, I was satisfied with the fruit and that. And I'm like, something must have happened, because normally I would have been like, oh, carrots. But it was little baby carrots, and they were good. And I was like, wow, this is really good. So I can tell that my palate had changed.
Yeah, you did a reset.
Yes.
And so now we just eat mindfully and just keep that in mind. So if you have a choice between a sugary something or not. One of the things that another article that I read recently, they said to set your carb curfew at night. So at your dinner time meal, try not to eat any carbs, because what it does is it flips the fat burning switch, and it increases the amount of fat burning that goes on while you're sleeping. So if we just stop eating carbs at our evening meal, and stay away from carbs, so that you have that whole cycle, and then you wake up in the morning, your body has been more efficiently burning those calories without the carbs.
Okay, so you'll have to say that one more time. So find the curfew for your carbs.
Yeah. Set a carb curfew is how they wrote it. Okay. Set a carb curfew. So axing carbs at night flips the fat burning switch by increasing the amount of fat burning hormones released while we sleep.
Okay, so your body is going to burn fat while be more efficient at burning fat while you're asleep if you shut those carbs off, make the last meal of the day carb free.
Yes.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it means we have to stay away from the crackers and the popcorn and the chips and the different things we tend to eat in front of the TV is why I'm bringing this up.
Yeah.
Because that time of night or after dinner, we're usually relaxing, and out comes the snacks.
Right. And so we need to change our snacks, put some carrots, some apples,
or something else.
Yeah. I mean, we try not to eat cheese, right? Because it's fattening, but a little slice of cheese will be more satisfying with your snack, your apple or whatever, and it'll stick with you longer if you eat just a little bit of protein with your fruits and stuff.
Yep.
And Francine, you were right on, a minute ago when you said that, with the bread, one of the things people can do to really cut back on their sugar intake is just don't eat the bread, because there's so much hidden sugar in bread. It's carbohydrates and it's sugar. So if you can just not eat as much bread, you're going to be better off too. And that's kind of an easy thing to do. It's kind of, okay, I'll have a half a slice of bread instead of the full slice or something like that.
Cut back gradually till you, if you can't cut back altogether.
Yeah.
I found that lately that I have really been able, since we did the switch, Fran, to be more aware of how much bread I was taking in. And I noticed that when I put the bread back in, Robin, I'm going to make this comment, and I'd like you to see if you can expound on this, that I experienced inflammation in my joints. And I hadn't been aware of where it was coming from before then, because I never eliminated bread. But once I eliminated it, whenever I put it back in, I could tell that it was having an effect on my joints. Yeah. Now, is it because the sugar? You think that's what's causing it to, you know what I mean?
I don't really, all I know is that our bodies were not really meant to eat a lot of those kinds of, even some of the grains, we weren't really made to digest grains, and certainly not dairy as well. But what happens is when we eat badly, that inflammation in our system is kind of the side effect that happens. And so we do, so it is probably the sugar in the bread, but it might be the gluten. I don't really know.
Inflammation. Okay.
Yeah. So I was talking to a lady this morning, and she was saying that her doctor was telling her to try to eliminate gluten. And I said that when you do that, eliminate sugar at the same time, because your tendency will be to eat, like a lot of vegetarians, they're still overweight. And the reason why they're still overweight is because they eat food that's sugary rather than there's no meat in it or anything like that, but still they're not eating that healthily because they're making up for what they don't eat by eating all vegetarian. But they'll eat bread and they'll eat other things that's not good. So unless you cut out those carbs and the sugar, you're not going to lose weight. And it's not good for you.
Now here's an observation. What were grains used for back in the day? I'm talking about way back in the day. Grains were used for a specific purpose, and it wasn't for us.
I don't know.
How did you fatten a calf?
And you would put that what do you call it? Oat feeder over the face of the horse.
Yeah. It was to fatten the calves, the grains were meant for the animals. Not for us.
Mm-hmm.
But then, so then we started picking up the grains because those are all carbs. Every last one of them: oats, wheat, barley, rye, blah, 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 blah. We're not necessarily supposed to be, okay, you can make bread or whatever, but you're not supposed to eat the whole loaf, and you're not supposed to overindulge in it. And but that little food pyramid or whatever has started saying, you need to have lots of whole grain. No, you don't.
Yes, they did.
Mm-hmm. One of the more recent food pyramids that I've seen, actually grains is part of it. But the bigger part of it are those really healthy starchy vegetables that are better for you to eat than grains, like the sweet potatoes, and the beets, and even regular white potatoes are better for you to eat
than grains.
Yep. So the starchy vegetables is what's going to stick with you, and it's going to keep you more satisfied for a longer period of time.
And that's probably preferred because they want you to have fruits and vegetables, green leafy, and then the starchy vegetables, like the root vegetables, like the turnips and things of that nature. But them grains, just try it for a week. See how you'd feel without grains for a week.
Mm-hmm. So this was kind of fun. They said, if you could do, when you're eating, if you can implement the 1 in 10 rule. And what that means is 1 gram of fiber to 10 grams of carbs. So when you're looking at the label, and if you could keep it minimized like that, where you're at least incorporating fiber in with your carbs, it's going to be better for you than not. So just be mindful of the 10 and the 1 in 10 rule. Did that make sense?
I'm not sure how to apply it.
So we know what carbs are. Tell us more about the fiber. Maybe that will help.
Okay.
And would it be actually in the same package, or are you talking about during the course of the meal? Like if you're looking at your plate, should 1/10 at least be something green versus carbs?
Okay, so I'll try to explain. So it says for every 10 grams of carbohydrate, you're looking at the label, you're gonna find you're gonna want to have at least 1 gram of fiber. And they said, why? The ratio of carbohydrate to fiber is genuine, unprocessed whole grain. So I guess that's how you can determine that food that you're going to eat is at least unprocessed, and that it has 1 gram of the fiber to counteract the carbs or to go with the carbs. Otherwise, it would be too processed.
Got it.
Too processed.
Okay, so how much of the real food is left in there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. After they finish doing everything. Yeah.
After they finish manipulating it, yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
And the other thing I really liked about this article is they said that if you can see it, you're going to eat it. So this is kind of a neat trick. So if you have nuts and real healthy snacks, put them in a jar or a bowl or whatever where you can actually see it. But your candies and your things that you really don't want to eat, but you want them available, put them in an opaque container.
Got it.
You actually don't see it, and you have to go in there and get it. So they said that if you're naturally, you're just going to eat what you see easier than if you don't. So I thought that was a super easy thing to change.
I like that.
That's good.
Because if you're going to bring it in the house, put it in something that you can't see.
That's right. Keep it in the cupboard, or keep it in keep it somewhere where it's not really visible and it's not.
I really had to break up with candy because I have grandchildren, and so every once in a while, candy sort of appears in my house, like Halloween or recently Easter. They left a lot of the candy here, and I'm like, or it was just too much to put in the basket. You know, we live in a very wealthy country. So I had these big bags of jelly beans. I'm like, oh no. You know what? I'd rather throw you away than pay the doctor. So I just let it go. I'm like, you're out of here. because it was calling me, Francine. Saying, Gary, the red jelly beans are still in here.
And you know what's good about you doing that? We have to get over the mindset of it's going to waste. If you know what I mean? I'm wasting money, or I'm wasting this. You're
going to starve if you don't eat all the jelly beans, Terry.
I was like, no, but your health is going to suffer if you decide to take it, you know, like when there's candy left over, just throw it out. Just throw it away. And then for me personally, just don't bring it in the house. Mm-hmm. I won't need to deal with it if it's not in the house. It's not in my field, my visual field. I don't have to worry.
You deliberately did not eat the Valentine's Day candy, right? You go to work and people have their Valentine's candy sitting on the desk because they don't want to eat it. So they start pushing it in the workplace. You know what I mean? Or bringing it to a meeting. Girl, here, have some of it. So you really have to be deliberate about how you're going to handle those types of situations.
Yeah.
Wow.
Especially when we know that sugar is, I mean, it's a poison. It's really, really not good for us.
Stop there. Sugar is a poison. Nobody wants to say it. Nobody wants to say that. And they're like, oh, just a little bit in moderation. Oh, if you get it raw, it's better. Or if you do something else. But sugar is a poison.
Francine used to say, I just got a little sugar. I mean, they have sugar that a little sugar. What? How can you don't have a little? You just either got it or you ain't got it.
It's not cool. Sugar is poison. Continue on and see. That's just like, do you want them to fix your chicken with a little arsenic? So why are we having a little sugar?
Yeah. But, you know, on the same token, I also believe in making small habit changes. So, you know, we can't cut out sugar just completely cold turkey. I mean, people can do that, but they would be suffering. I mean, they would, but if we could just be more mindful about how we eat and what we offer to people, and that we offer more healthy alternatives and things like that. If everybody could do that, it would be good for slow changes that happen over time, and it's not going to be that disruptive. And it's a cultural change, so it's kind of like can smoke. I'm still going back to the tobacco analogies, because people were really pissed off when we went after clean indoor air in the tobacco control program. How dare you tell me I can't smoke inside my own house or right?
My apartment, because it affects the other units.
Right. Well, it's the same with the sugar industry. The sugar industry has positioned sugar to be, I mean, they were actually saying it was healthy for you to have sugar back in the 60s. I mean, they were putting out bogus science and they were also saying things to government. Well, you can't really say that because you don't have the scientific evidence that proves that sugar does X, Y, and Z.
You know what, Robin? I find this interesting, because we're always talking about why are they wasting money on all these studies? Because they have to present the study in court in order to get to the end result that we need as a community.
That's exactly right.
Because I'm like, why do we got to do a $1 million study to find out that, you know, sugar is bad and we all know it? Because they've got a study to prove that it is good.
So we just have to kind of change the mind of everybody, so that everybody is more aware of sugar and how we have been manipulated by the sugar industry to think that sugar is not that bad for you.
So what can we do to help people recognize that sugar is a poison? The sugar is just not the business, as Francine says.
Well, we're doing it today because we're bringing awareness that it is not it's not good for you. And I like Robin's approach, where can you make little increments to back off? Because if you just backed off of it and maybe do the little changes so that you can see the results, make people aware. And because it tastes good, and because it tastes good, it's going to be hard for people to depart from it.
Right. And then this gets back to water. So this is kind of fun. So they're saying that if you drink, okay, this gets back to kind of overall health. Okay, we've been told to drink 8 glasses of water a day, but why? And it's because water increases the how do you say it?
Metabolization?
Metabolic.
Yeah.
Okay.
30%. So can you believe that I was shocked when I heard that if you drink water, then your metabolism speeds up by 30%.
Wow.
Had you ever heard that before?
No, but I will be drinking more water.
So in other words, we have more energy when we drink more water. Is that what I hear you saying?
Your metabolism speeds up.
It revs up.
Which your metabolism burns your fat.
Right.
So drink more water, burn more fat. If you're not eating sugar.
That's an easy message. Drink more water, burn more fat. And I see people walking around with gallons of water recently.
So this is really fun. The researchers estimate that increasing water intake by 1.5 liters a day, which is about 6 cups, would burn an extra 17,400 calories over a course of a year is a weight loss of 5 pounds. So just by increasing 6 cups of water a day, 6 cups of water a day, you could, not changing anything else, you can lose 5 pounds in a year.
Okay,
that's how much your metabolism speeds.
And that's about how much I gain every year.
But if we're drinking water,
5 years, it's
if we're drinking water, it cuts down the amount that we're gaining.
I also feel like it fills my stomach up, so I'm less hungry, you know, and stuff. If I drink water, while I'm eating my dinner or whatever.
It saturates your cells too, because a lot of times, and I read this book called "You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty." It's because you're dehydrated. And so once you start hydrating, you don't feel hungry. A lot of times the symptom of dehydration is hunger. When you're not really hungry, you're dehydrated.
Right.
But if I drink more water, it's going to bring down that rev up my metabolism. Okay. That'll be water over coffee. I know you people are going to go, not the coffee. Water over coffee. Water over juice. Water over another beverage. Make water priority over the other beverages, because that's what we need to run on. We don't run on orange juice.
You know what I'm concerned about too is all of this recent uptick in different kinds of water, flavored water and things, and water blue, so blue it looks like came out of the Caribbean or something. And then you got green water and different kinds of things. And I'm always concerned, why is this water purple? Water is not naturally purple.
And so there's your answer. It's not naturally purple, or it's not natural. You don't even put the LY on it. It's just not natural. That's process. It goes back to process. So if man puts their hands on it, packages it up, adds, okay, we're going to put the enzymes in and we're going to put this in. Well, wait a minute. Why are you messing with it? Why, sometimes I think man needs not to touch stuff.
Okay. We just need some basic Adam's ale, right? Yeah. Fresh out the mountain.
Because like Crystal Geyser, I watched something, their commercial, bottled at the source. They just, it's coming off the mountain. They're getting water, putting it in the bottle and shipping it out. Okay.
And I can remember literally stopping. There was a little stream, and they had, in this small town that we had to drive through to get to my grandmother's house, it had a free-running faucet that came out of there. And we would stop and fill up gallons, milk jugs of water. And then when you get it home, you could see the little sediment at the bottom. But
because that was natural.
That was before they used to sell water. Now, if you told my grandmother she'd have to buy her bottle of water, she'd have looked at you like you were on something. But that was also before we could get money out the side of a wall. But things changing all the time, and pay for air station.
Where did you grow up, Terry?
Pennsylvania. And the little sign said free Adam's ale. And there'd be, people would line up. Sometimes there'd be a line. Most of the time there wouldn't be. And we just stop and fill up But we also went to the egg farm. We went to the slaughterhouse. We went to, you know what I'm saying?
Where man didn't touch a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't, a lot of stuff wasn't processed because we grew a lot of it too.
I'm liking the conversation on the S word because, nobody really wanted to talk about the fact that sugar, and Robin just said it, sugar is poison.
Well, I want you to know that in making jelly, we put a lot of white sugar in that stuff. I can remember we used to make large pots of jelly and, preserves and different things that would go down in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
But I can remember, she would buy 25-pound sack of sugar. And then she would complain, "Oh, sugar is up this year. It's $1 or something." I don't know. Whatever Grandma said, but to her it was expensive. But that was interesting. Now that I think about jelly, because I like preserves, how much sugar, when I think back, how much sugar we put in it, I can imagine how much the industry puts in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but back then you weren't getting sugar hidden in every single other thing that you ate.
It was
your bread was baked by your grandma probably, so your bread wasn't filled with all of those sugars. There's a little bit of bread. There's a little bit of sugar in bread when you make it. Mm-hmm. You bake it.
Yeah, she didn't make all the bread. She would make biscuits, but and I think that was the beginning of white bread, because she used to say, "Oh, this is better than sliced bread." So evidently, Wonder Bread was new.
And Wonder Bread was not wonderful for you. Just keeping it real. That is some fake bread, but being aware that sugar is in so many things nowadays. And then there's the fake sugars, which we can go into that a little bit later. But the sugar-free. Oh my gosh, that's worse than the sugar, but the sugar's still bad.
Yeah.
So if there's a way that you can, like sugar alternatives, like I don't know what, I know I've tried this new one that monk fruit is very low glycemic. It doesn't spike your blood sugar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how does that work? Does it come in packages? What is it?
At Starbucks they have it's monk fruit and stevia. Stevia is a sweetener from a plant, and it's very low glycemic. So they have the monk fruit and stevia mixed, where you can put that in something if you're gonna drink it and make for sweetener, which means it's not spiking your blood sugar when you.
So is that dry or is it?
You can get it dry, or you can actually get monk fruit if you want that too. So.
Okay. That's interesting.
So one of the things you asked Francine also is, well, what can we do about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
What can somebody do? And we all know that we can eat more mindfully and things like that, but what I'd like to do is change the perception of, I don't know how to say this without sounding really political, but when there's an initiative on the ballot, for instance, and what they want to do is raise the tax on sugary sweetened beverages. And I know New York has done this, and some of the states are trying to get a tax passed where sugar sweetened beverages are going to be taxed a little higher than anything else. And people are fighting that. People are saying, well, we can, there's a lot of arguments against increasing taxes. But one of the things we can do is to not react to those kinds of initiatives and really look into the research and really look into why it's an important, why the issue is important enough for people to take it to heart. And so I would love to see California pass a tax on sugar sweetened beverages, because number one, it would increase the cost of that beverage so that the kids can't afford it. They might get it out of the vending machines. They might be doing things really that can change the environment. So you get the sugar out of, it's kind of like if you see it, you're going to eat it. You see it, you're going to drink it. So to just get it out, and for people to be more open-minded when it comes to ballot initiatives. So if there's a tax increase on the ballot, don't automatically say, I don't want to increase taxes. That's wrong. The government shouldn't be increasing taxes, because the money that they do raise from raising taxes on something like cigarettes can be used for a lot of good public education. And it can be used for people in the communities to do something good. I mean, So I think politically there are things we could do about it. Mm-hmm. Kind of have to be open-minded and not overreact to an increase in tax and automatically say it's not a good thing.
So
gotcha.
So become educated about an initiative, not just because money's attached to it, we're not going to do it.
Right. How about we stop pushing? Don't be a pusher, people. Don't bring your candy to work.
Now see, I'm liking that idea too. Don't give it out to someone else. And you know how somebody, they wanted to be they were being kind. Thank you. They were just being kind. Here you go. And it was a piece of candy. I was like, thank you, but I know where that's going.
Yeah. And I've had people bring me cookies, like from my secret pals or different things. And I'm like, okay.
And maybe we need to tell them. We now tell people, hey, if you're thinking about giving me something sweet, bring me some fruit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like there's edible arrangements has like fruit, but they dip it in chocolate or something. So maybe we don't get the dipped ones. Maybe we just get the fruit. And it's an arrangement that looks like flowers or whatever, but it's cantaloupe and strawberries and things of that nature, which is a lot better than them bringing you a box of donuts.
Right. And when I do give candy, or I do have candy that I put out, I just make sure it's as dark chocolate. So really high in flavonoids and things like that. So that because you can eat chocolate, and it's okay, just don't eat the milk chocolate. Eat the dark chocolate and put those out and give those away as gifts rather than, right?
Yeah. Yes. So it's not that you can't have something sweet. We're telling you sugar is not the choice.
Right. And to be mindful of your health, the health effects that the symptoms around diabetes is really, really important. And so what we went over in the beginning of the show, if you do start feeling a little neuropathy in your fingers or your feet, or you are thirsty, or there's some of those symptoms, then get checked out and deal with it is really important.
Don't run from it. You need to know when you're going on a trip, you need to know where you are so that you can know where you're going. So going and getting checked to find out where you are so that you can make some intelligent decisions about where you're going to be, especially if you're having the symptoms that Robin is talking about. It is time to take control of your health, because when you take control of your health, you take control of your wealth. They go hand in hand. You cannot do one without the other. You can't do one without the other. You need to be wealthy. I mean, you need to have some money so that you can eat well, but you also need to eat well so that you can get the money to eat well. So then it's still the circle.
Yeah.
You need to be healthy. Most often, you really need to be healthy. So do what you can to keep your health vibrant. Come back here. We're going to, every Thursday, we're going to be talking about health and wealthness and what you can do to remain healthy. Robin is always bringing, this is very enlightening information. Nobody wants to talk about the S word because we like it so much. But it's poison, people. Sugar is poison. If we tell you the truth, perhaps you'll make a different decision when you're getting ready to pick something up.
And we didn't even get into the effect on your gums. I'm sure you had some dental stuff for us.
Then I believe it's I could be wrong, but I think it's like an acid, just like it acts like an acid. If you eat too much sugar, I know I have felt my arms and my joints and stuff hurting, right? Just like, whoa, okay. But also, like when you get salt under your fingernail, have you ever gotten salt like right under the fingernail? It burns. not that, so you're not supposed to stick your hand down in the salt, but I was like, oh, so something, because that's tender, that's kind of like not, those areas are not protected. What happens when you do sugar that way? Sugar gets into places that it's not supposed to be, and it's not good for you. Yeah. So find an alternative. Sweets, you know, fruits are nice sweets. You can have fruit. You're going to just need to break the cycle.
That's right. And so as soon as you stop eating sugar or eat less of it, then everything else tastes sweeter.
It does.
Tastes really sweeter. Does. And you actually lose your craving for candy and sweets when you get off the sugar.
You do, don't you?
You do. I'm telling you, those baby carrots tasted really good yesterday. I was like, wow, these are good. And I was like eating them and I'm like, okay, this is good. And I'm like, I'm not eating something else. I'm practicing with the other S word, salt, too, where I am not putting it on anything to reprogram, what did you say, reset my palate so that I know what real food tastes like.
Yep.
So today's Thursday. It's all about health and wellness with Robin Shimizu. This has just been wonderful. We look forward to seeing you next week. Tomorrow we're going to be talking tech. If you are in Sacramento, join us for First Mondays. Our meetup is going to be May 7th at 5 p.m. at Seasons 52. And share this with somebody. Follow us on all of the channels. You can follow Robin at I am Robin Shimizu on Twitter, Robin Shimizu on Facebook. And especially if you want to keep up with your health and you want more health nuggets, just follow Robin. And for business tips, you need to follow Terry and I on BizChicks, the Real BizChicks on Twitter, or Real BizChicks on Twitter. We're going to be doing more. Subscribe to the YouTube, and for those watching YouTube live, thank you so much. We appreciate that. We had some technical difficulties over with the internet signal, so Facebook wasn't working like it should, but we are rolling live on YouTube via T-Mobile. So just want to shout out to T-Mobile. Need to find out what's wrong with my internet service provider. But we want to thank you. Robin, any last words that you want to?
This was good, Robin. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah, it was good. Thank you. Reflect on the S word enough.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
I am now aware.
I just want to say, guys, don't forget to go to the front of your own line.
And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow for tech stuff. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.